Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology, Debunking Mythology. Sattology means science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means science or study of fake, lie, or imagination. There are so many proofs in our show we have collected from Ramayana and Mahabharata that definitely people cannot call Ramayana and Mahabharata as mythology, because mythology is where there are no archaeological, astronomical, or traditional proofs. Traditions are as important as the philosophy. But Ramayana and Mahabharata have proofs all over the world, whether it's an archaeological search in Russia, archaeological search in South America, and archaeological search in even Mexico, as close as you can get. And yesterday I also found something from West Virginia, which I have shared it on my Facebook page in one of the mounds. And simple thing, I go by the symbols and I go by the stories with the symbols say, and you'll be shocked to know that what I posted on my social media is the same as what was found in the pyramids of Egypt. And now the historians are studying that. And I have a very, very special guest today who is a world traveler who organizes shows all over the world in South America and has been training yoga teachers for last 15 years. So zebyoga.com. Let us welcome Zeb Homison. Welcome, Zeb.
Hello. How are you this morning?
Difficult question to answer every day.
It's very good to see you. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have you. I see the depth in which you have gone over the years, and it's simply astounding to me. And you're inspiring so many people. That is even better. Yeah, like so many people are taking up good healthy practices, and like the you are moving them towards mode of goodness, and that attracts everyone.
Excellent. When I first started practicing yoga, it was really, and it's often the case in the United States. We we hear about yoga, or we go and take a yoga class, and it's very much focused on just the physical postures, performing this asana and that asana, and it's more like a workout. But very quickly for me, I started to realize, and I think a lot of other people experience this as well. Um, we start for various reasons, whether it's to get a little healthy or to get physically fit, but we keep practicing for a much different reason, and so much of that is the mental benefit, and we just start to feel more connected with ourselves. Do you feel that?
True, absolutely. Like you become a better person if you start even researching the word meaning of the word yoga. Just the meaning of the word yoga itself drives you somewhere else totally. People uh, do not meditate on the word itself. So if they go
Truly.
to the root of the word, then
Yeah. In Sanskrit, so I mean, you know better than I, but so what would be a good translation for yoga in English?
the word yoga comes from yuj. So Sanskrit, like in English language, etymology is built on roots. So in
Hmm.
Sanskrit, the roots are known as dhatu. And so the root of the word yoga is yuj. So it always implies a second person to whom you are connecting to. So yoga
Hmm.
means yoga is everything. Like if English word spirituality is incomplete, but the word yoga is complete. Spirituality is very much an act of being connected to your soul or trying to connect to your soul. Yoga
Right.
means not only you understand yourself, but you also know from whom you derive your sustenance from, Paramatma. So the yoga is a more complete word for even spirituality. So yoga means to reconnect or to
Mhm.
connect back to the original powerhouse, like that.
And it's an active word, right? It's not
It's
just like it's a connection between it's connect or to join. Somebody told me years ago that a good translation might be to yoke together, like the oxen in the field with a yoke. So you're bringing together. Um, we start sometimes with the body, and we start to feel pretty good in our body and get a little flexible and stronger, and then we start to notice the mind. And these are just different layers of the self, right? So the physical, the gross, mundane body, the mind, all our thoughts and everything that's going on in our headspace. And the more we practice, if we start to get advanced at yoga, and sometimes we see like a person in a handstand or like touching their feet on their head somehow, and we're like, oh, that's advanced. But I was just saying the other day, like, when I think of advanced yoga, it's someone that can sit in stillness and like turn off their mind. All the different crazy thoughts that are going on in our head. Can we be completely still so we can start to reach the next level? And that's what you were just speaking to. Like, how do we connect to spirit? How do we, so it's this act of joining together all these different aspects of the self. Yeah.
See, there is one relationship in the world which is never broken, and that is Atma and Paramatma. That is like you can have all of the relationships broken, but that Paramatma always stays with you, whether you're happy or sad, and that's recognizing that eternal relationship is yoga. So you can be walking and still be a yogi.
Mm-hmm.
You can be just eating, still be in yoga. You can be
Right.
running, you will be still in yoga. You'll be playing
You
soccer,
don't
you'll
have
be
to
still
be
in yoga.
on your yoga mat to be
Mhm.
practicing yoga.
No, you can be a warrior
Yeah.
defending the country. Like Arjun is known as the highest yogi, and he's always in wars, always fighting. You'll still be,
Right. Arjun from the Mahabharata, right?
yes, he's fighting.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
mean, that's the whole concept of the Bhagavad Gita. Like, Arjun, who is this great warrior, the day before this his great battle, where his family and his really respected elders are on the other side of the battlefield, like he draws up in front of his teachers, Bhishma and Drona, and he looks at them and he's like, I don't know if I can fight in this battle. I don't know if I can do this. And the whole Bhagavad Gita is the conversation between him and Krishna. Like, you have to do your duty. This is yoga.
see, like
Yeah.
the if you go to the first verse of Gita, and the topic today is the journey within of Zeb, not mine. So, but I'm going to stop after this. Okay, so uh, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. It's a very simple one line Patanjali gave, but it has got so many things in it. Chitta Vritti Nirodha means to halt the, and I translate it as Yoga is the Nirod or the halting of the Vritti of Chit. Means uh, Chit is referred to as mind here. But you see, most in the West, minds, thoughts, beliefs, they're all mixed up. Intelligence is mixed up. You know, but in yoga, it's a science. Here, the vritti is which defines chitta, and to curtail vritti is all yoga. But people will not even say what is vritti, and that is also beautifully explained in the here. What are the vrittis here? Before, because I can go on and on, and this one is uh, it's like tada drashtu sarupe avasthanam. The second one, third one. So when one sees and controls their vritti, they become situated in self. So they become normal now, so which is there. And then and when we do not control vritti, then we act with an uncontrolled mind. So it is a vritti which defines the mind. So yoga goes to such certain subtle level, which starts acting on curtailing the vrittis. Uh, so five vrittis are there: praman, viparya, vikalpa, nidra, smriti. These are the five vrittis in which the human functions, which is praman, which is physical perception; viparya, distorted perception; vikalpa is alternative perception; nidra is no perception; and smriti is perception through past experience. This is how it functions. So in your journey, like coming back to the topic here, which was the topic of the show, in your journey, because you have seen for 15 years, so how did you see that the took the yoga from external to internal what you are today?
Yeah. I mean, the Yoga Sutras are such as like it's almost like a scientific text, right? And it lays it all out from the very beginning. Like yoga chitta vritti nirodha, yoga is the quieting or the stilling of the changing states of the mind. And notice it doesn't say anything about yoga postures there. It's just boom. This is where we're going with yoga. How can I quiet my mind so that I can start to reconnect with spirit or whatever you want to call it. Um, the the different perceptions that you were just mentioning that they bring up in the sutras, it's we have so many different layers of consciousness, and we have all of our perceptions and all of our experiences that we have taken in over the course of our life, not to mention things that were passed down to us from our parents and our grandparents, stories that we've heard that have affected the way our perception, the way we see the world. And so we're constantly walking around, like, to bring it into sort of modern technical terms, it's like we've got filters, multiple filters on, and we're trying to perceive the world through that. And when we practice yoga, the idea is to start to slow down. They're there sometimes. Um, when I started practicing, I was, I don't know how far back I should go. I mean, yoga has been hovering around in my life since I was very young. I noticed when I was a child, my mother and I used to sit and chant Om together and do little yoga postures out of a book. Um, when I was a little bit older, well, fast forward to when I was in college, taking random yoga classes in college, and they would bring in these amazing guest teachers, guest speakers, and just like it kept coming back and reconnecting with me. So when I finally, in my late 20s, started teaching yoga, uh, everything started to make a little bit more sense. This idea of sort of holistically bringing together all the different pieces. And starting with an asana practice, I think for Westerners especially, is a really great way to start to tap in. Um, just being in our body is something that we're generally pretty used to. With this idea of like going to the gym and working out so you feel better. Um, and when you step onto your mat and practice yoga, you do. You open up the body, you get all the internal systems working, and you start to feel better. I know for me, in my personal experience, I took that to sort of a next level where early in my practice, I discovered this idea of a yoga competition, an asana competition. And I was like, I wonder, this is really, the people I see doing this are really inspiring. I wonder if I can do that. I wonder how far I could take my practice. And I, in my younger days, was a soccer player, a runner. I was pretty tight, pretty stiff in my body. And so when I started practicing, like, I didn't have much of a backbend. I didn't have much flexibility. And I was like, I wonder if I can be like those people that are super bendy and moving around so gracefully. And so I started to pursue that. And in that process, I discovered a self discipline, a level of self awareness that I hadn't known before. And it was through practicing yoga asana. We start to quiet the mind. We start to notice ourselves on a different level. And, my journey, it took me multiple years to, well, over the course of 7 years, I kept, plugging away at this yoga competition to the point where I built my practice to a level where I could compete internationally. And in 2014, I won the international asana competition, which, to be fair, like, a lot of really serious yogis would hear that or look at that and be like, you can't compete in yoga. Um, which, on one level, I agree with. You can't compete in your level of self awareness, you can't compete in enlightenment. But just looking at the simple performance of a yoga posture and the level of someone's stillness and focusedness on stage, you can quantify that. And it's a really good way to build focus, to build determination, to build self image. And so 2014 won the yoga asana championship. And then, I had spent 7 years of my life just like devoting myself to this practice, to this physical practice. And after I won, I sort of like, I had to take a step back and be like, okay, so I spent 7 years doing that. What does that mean for me now? Now that I've achieved the highest goal in this competition, what does that mean for me? And I had to reevaluate where I was going in my practice. And in doing so, I started to turn my attention more to the idea of connectedness, more to the idea of all these ancient yogis coming out of India weren't talking just about physical fitness. They were talking about, and what we were mentioning earlier, this idea of connectedness, this idea of noticing the spirit, the self. And you mentioned two words earlier, Aditya, the Atman and the Paramatman. And there's not really a good English translation for these two things. The most common go-to, the most common translation people use is soul. which, Westerners, we can connect with that. But Atman, really, the best way to describe Atman is to just explain what Atman is to someone and then just use the word. So, from a scholarly standpoint, Aditya, what would you say the best way to describe Atman is?
Sanskrit is a very specific language. Like
Yeah.
every word has a unique meaning. So Atma, like Krishna mentions multiple times in Bhagavad Gita as Dehi Dehinam. So sometimes this Atma which pervades the entire body, Atman in Sanskrit means mind. Sometimes Atmaneva, like Krishna uses De Atman Atmaneva, where he's referring to Atman as mind. But sometimes in certain situations, the use of Atma has also been colloquially made as mind sometimes. But the word, Sanskrit word is Atma. Like it is you cannot give a name to it. Like for example, but is referred to as that which pervades the entire body is Atma. And Krishna refers to a third party, third person. Yeah, this Dehi means one who occupies, who's the owner of the body. Owner of the body is Atma. And and then and nowadays governments think that they own the bodies, but it's a different matter altogether. But but uh,
Let's not go there.
and but Atma is Mame Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Mana in the 15th chapter. Mana Shashtani Indriyani Prakriti Sthani Archati. So mind is also considered as a sense. Mana Shashtani Indriyani Prakriti Sthani Karshati. And Prakriti is the world where we are living in, and Prakriti Guna Tveva. So from the Prakriti comes the Guna, and they bind, and this Atma identifies with the body because of faulty intelligence. So therefore, so mind is a material thing. Intelligence is also material. It's related to the body based on past karma. And Atma is neither mind nor intelligence, nor the body. Sometimes we mix these four terms together, which is so Patanjali is so amazing. He is separating all of them out. Literally, he is telling you how to follow Bhagavad Gita. Literally. But
Mhm.
he is taking you from like wherever you are. Maybe you are a barista at Starbucks, or you are a truck driver, or you can be in any profession. You can start from there and you can go to the highest level of living, understanding your eternal relationship with Paramatma. And in Bhagavad Gita, Paramatma is mentioned as Krishna says, I am Paramatma. He says in the 15th chapter that I am Paramatma. So it goes, and actually the god of all the yogis is Yogeshwar, which is another name of Krishna. So the and he tells Krishna Arjun also. He says yogi is higher than a tapasvi. Yogi is higher than a jnani, means seek knowledge or seeker knowledge. Yogi is even higher than a karmi. So he said tasmad. He tells Arjun tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. So you be a yogi. So the yogi means the most scientific person in the world. It is the culmination of all science. And I that's a question I asked to people, and they get rattled with my question, that if you have never tried to understand the difference between mind and intelligence, then how did you make a difference between stratosphere and space? Because you don't know yourself, then how can you make a difference between higher topics of science? Only one whose mind is controlled can see things as they are.
Right.
So you know, I really like your journey, which you have just explained, and believe me, you have to see his website, and where people who are into asana and see, and then you will know where he's coming from. Yeah. So one thing you just mentioned, that your parents taught you to chant mantra Om. So there was
Mhm.
a already a culture in your own house
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
of
there was a. Go ahead. What was your question?
so for people who don't have that culture in their house,
Mhm.
how do they begin?
Um, it's really simple, really. All you need is a desire to begin. Um, if there, there are some people in the world that have an aversion to, they hear something like Om, and they're like, oh, that's not good. Um, there's something wrong with that. So maybe, if yoga is something that you're interested in and you like to start to build your knowledge, uh, find the best entryway for yourself, whether it's going to a class and just practicing the physical postures and leaving all the other stuff aside for now, or finding a book that you can read about some of the philosophy. When I was a child and my parents were, you know, just sort of like a fun, sort of like hippie connectedness, spirituality kind of thing, like chanting with me when I was a little kid. It built this level of awareness, like that that sound, even when I was, not totally connected and thinking about yoga, that was in the back of my mind. And over time, I really feel like, that sound from when I was a child brought me to where I am today. Like there was already that level of awareness, that interest, that curiosity. And what's your entry point? Again, is it the physical postures? Is it chanting? Is it reading philosophy? Find something that interests you and then dig a little bit deeper. Because all of it connects. They're all different parts of a greater system that is thousands of years old. Yoga philosophy, these ancient teachings reach back into the mists of time. We were talking before the show, like how far really does this go back? And at the end of the day, nobody really knows. The teachings were around long before things were written down. Um, yeah, I think so. For somebody that, and if hearing about chanting Om is a little interesting to you, Om is it's a single syllable, but it's what they call a mantra. And mantra simply means like a tool, right? A tool to help liberate the mind, to free the mind. And, you know, saying Om, a single syllable can be that. Or, I was listening to Ram Dass the other day, and he was saying one of his favorite mantras wasn't in Sanskrit, just a simple English phrase. I am loving awareness. And it's just a syllable, a phrase, something that's meaningful to you that you can repeat. And as you repeat this, or just really simplify it, trim it down, I am love. And as you repeat that, and repeat that, and repeat that, over time, it starts to become like a little program in the background. And it starts to replace some of the other programming from when we were a kid, or in our formative years. Like if somebody when we were little is just looked at us and were like, oh, you're bad, or you're not good enough, or whatever it was, and that stuck in the back of our mind. And maybe it's just been playing on repeat for the past 30 years. When we find a mantra and start to use it, or when we practice asana and start to really dig into our physical practice. Those are the times, those are the tools that we have to start to notice those little programs. Somebody told me I'm not good enough. I remember that. You know what? I am good enough. I'm going to delete that program. I'm going to format that part of the hard drive and replace it with something better, like Om, or like I am love. And this is just one aspect of a yoga practice, but for somebody that's just starting out and just starting to get interested in yoga, I think it can be really effective. It doesn't take that much effort. It's just finding something, again, whether it's stepping onto your mat and practicing asana, finding just a little mantra to say to yourself on a regular basis, reading a little bit about the origins of yoga, and whatever piques your interest, start to dig. And it will all start to, like, yoga is a beautiful process where it just, like, everything kind of happens for you in your practice the way that it should. It unfolds for you. Back to this idea of the self, the Atman, Aditya was saying, like, it's sort of they say in some of the ancient texts, like, the Atman cannot be burnt. It cannot be cut with a knife. The wind cannot blow it. It's something that's imperceivable, but it pervades the entire self. And it's not the body, the physical body. We can touch our body. We know it's there. So we're perceiving that. So at the end of the day, we are not that. And to take it to the next level, our mind, like, it's a little bit more refined, but we can still perceive what's going on in our mind. We can still notice our thoughts and notice our feelings. So therefore, we are, if you take a step back, we're perceiving our own mind. Therefore, we are not the mind. That means that there's something else behind those two things that's maybe running the show. And someone, if you look at a body, like someone that has passed away, there's the physical body is still there, the brain is still there, like all the parts that you need to make a human being are still there, but there's something missing. And that's the Atman that pervades the entire self. The Param Atman, the super soul, English translation, that's our, there's a little tiny, like they say it's the size of the tip of your thumb, and it resides within our heart, and that's what connects us to spirit. So there's the Atman, and then the next level, the Param Atman. And that's a little bit more esoteric. Like, you can take that and run with it, or you could set it aside for now. But that's what the yogis, these ancient seekers, that's what they perceived. That's what they passed down. What do you have to say about that?
I was reading Patanjali just now in the Samadhi path, in the 39, the first chapter, first path, 39. Yatha bhima dhyanadva. And he says, meditating on abhimat, because yoga is so simple and yoga cannot be avoided. There is, like I was, there is no separate word for meditation in Sanskrit, just yoga. Yoga is asana, yoga is connected to Paramatma, yoga is also meditation. So yoga is the, like, if people want to be scientists without yoga, cannot be. Not possible,
Yeah.
because your
This
mind,
idea of meditation is a newer concept, right?
newer concept. But yoga includes that. Yoga is part of it. It says that Patanjali says, and he makes it so easy. Meditating on your own personal opinions, likes, and dislikes also helps you attain stability of mind. So people who are self focused only, and you can come from any background, you can be self focused, you can be altruistic, it doesn't matter. But under, without knowing yourself, you cannot know the science of yoga, because you have to know yourself. And we all put a charade of a screen in front of us, so we project ourselves. We are like a projectors. We are projecting who we are not, and everyone is interacting with something who we are not. So, but to ourselves we cannot lie. So Patanjali says you can even start from there. Just monitor your own personal likes, dislikes, and your opinions, personal opinions about yourself. And that's where you begin on the path of yoga, because that will bring stability of mind. And then he goes back that you can also rely on dreams which you have. It says, Swapna Nidra Jnana Lambanava. Knowledge obtained through dreams also helps attain stability of mind. And freedom from raga and vishaya. Vishaya means subjects and objects, and rag means attachments. Also attain stability of mind. So there are multiple ways. So people are talking about mindfulness, mindset, all these big words they throw around, and big industries running on that. But Patanjali makes it so simple. These are inconsequential things. You can start from wherever you are. Like you can be a businessman and you can still be a yogi while doing business. In fact, your business will become even better. So, in your experience, in your yoga journey, how many examples you have seen? Because I've seen actors coming to your studios, some of them. I met them in your studios. And
Hmm.
how have you observed when they came the first time, and how was their journey? Because some of them are actors, businessmen also.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've had some pretty famous people pass through, whether they're sports icons or famous actors. And it's interesting because you realize very quickly that whether they're someone famous or someone, just coming in from their hard day at work, like everybody has stress. Everybody is operating sort of on this level of like, I need to let go of something. I need a way to reset. Everybody's At the end of the day, everybody's just a regular person, no matter what level of society they're on. And we all react to stressors in our life, and we need a way to sort of let go of all the tension, to start to notice ourselves and be still and be calm. And sometimes these really famous, successful people are the ones that are the most stressed out and disconnected. And I really appreciate them when they come in and take the time to like start to try to take care of themselves and just like be on their yoga mat for 90 minutes and let go of, you can reset the mind. You can let go of all the crazy stuff that is going on in your day. um, a lot of times, I've been teaching for almost 2 decades now, and a lot of times it's the people that are really successful, whether they're, high performance athletes or really like high level business people. and they think that they totally got it together, and they come in to take a yoga class and they step onto their mat and they start to like turn the camera on themselves. They start to like look inwards a little bit, and they can totally like break down almost. They that facade of togetherness and facade of like, I'm super successful, I'm so good at what I do, there you start to see little cracks in it. And um, those are the people, like if they really dig in and stick with their practice, they can like level up their game even so much more. Unfortunately, a lot of times people have a reaction like that. They start to practice, and they like the little cracks start to form, and they're like, "Oh no, this isn't for me." Where really yoga is for everyone, but it can be confronting sometimes. It can be, especially when you're just starting out, it can be a little bit difficult. The people that really succeed are the ones that persevere through that initial sort of like, oh, this is difficult, I don't want to do it. Really famous quote that I thought would be just kind of appropriate right here. You know, they say, is it from the Gita? They say yoga is the journey of the self, through the self, to the self. And I think, yeah, it's a journey, and it's individual. It's different for each and every one of us. But if you are really interested in leveling up your game and starting to realize who you truly are, then it's very much worth it.
Absolutely. It's a real journey within, and also it is a solution to, we have already discussed that in the past shows, that it is, people can check out, there's a playlist by Zeb Homison on the channel. You can check out all his videos there. And these videos are permanent because they're not based on any current issues. So you love all those conversations with Zeb. Yes, it is like the word self, and I'm a big player on words, you know that, because the word self, because English is a language, you need more words to explain a one Sanskrit word. So you need to write a paragraph on one Sanskrit word,
Just one word, yeah.
one word. And like for yoga, you can write a book also. You can write thousands of pages of books, but that's a different matter. So self you mentioned there, and people take it as a very esoteric. Some people make fun of it. Oh, this guy is psychedelic, or they get into some kind of, and there is a lot of fun being made by people who ultimately end up in yoga classes after making a lot of fun over the years, because there's nowhere else you get a solution for that. Also, American medical associations now recommend yoga for all therapies. They do recommend that, whether you're, so if why to do it when you're sick? Do it when you're healthy. You know? So self word is a very uh, kind of a shallow word, but the earlier word you use is Atman, is a more complete word because it is a combination of mind, intelligence, and false ego, because that is Atman. But Atma is still different. So the word Atma is, which English we colloquially call it soul, or so soul is completely different than any of those things. So when you say journey within, we are talking with the journey of soul, and because yoga connects to the basic of who you are, which you never see yourself in a mirror. You can, you don't see yourself in any kind of pictures because you're just seeing the body and your projection, projection, how you're looking, how is your hairstyle, and what you're thinking. Are you happy? So you put some teeth out and you just click it. Oh wow, he's happy, but nobody knows what's going on. So so to those people who are still bombarded with a lot of propaganda about the self-worth. So how will you explain self to them?
The self, I think back to this idea from earlier, the the something that, it's in us, it's part of us, it is us, but it's beyond just our body and even our mind. And in Western culture, especially, although Western culture has now pushed to the East as well, you know, big business, advertising, the way that they get us to buy more products and to buy into their programs and whatever, it's sort of like degrading this idea of self. And so it's just about the body and how we look, how pretty we are, what fashion we're wearing today, what makeup we have on, or whatever, what products we own. Like, do I have the newest smartwatch or the fanciest car, whatever it is? Like, so much of our lives on a day-to-day basis are about going to work to make the money so that we can buy the things that society has told us we need to have self-worth. And back to the idea of yoga and, finding the journey to the self, finding who we truly are. At the end of the day, is your fancy car going to make you a better person? Is your new smartwatch, is the newest style or the best haircut in the world going to complete you? Even like finding a partner, finding a lover, finding, like, we get taught from a very early age that, romance and finding the your soulmate is going to complete you. But even if we do, even if we find the the one person for us in this lifetime, eventually one of you or they is going to go away and you're left alone again. So how do I, all of these things aside, how can I start to complete myself? How do I make myself feel whole so that I can go out into the world and be the best person that I can be of service to all the people in my life that need assistance? And a yoga practice, physical yoga practice, philosophical, spiritual yoga practice, all of it is so that eventually we can be complete. We can free the mind. We're not controlled by all these like desires and wants and needs, so that we can just be complete, be whole, feel worthy of ourselves, so that we can go out into the world and make a difference. What do you think about that?
Very good answer, and I think it clarifies everything. Thank you so much, Zeb, for coming on the show. And people who'd like to learn from him, you can follow him on Instagram, zebyog.com, ZEBYOGA.com. And you can see there are many courses coming in. In fact, there is a whole website in which the philosophy as well as the upcoming trips are there. You can follow him on Instagram, because Instagram is where I go to and check what he's doing, where he's traveling, he's singing, then all those things I see over there. And I always wondered, when you started singing, did fellow yogis were surprised and shocked at what are you doing now?
Very much so. And that, the next level of my yoga journey, maybe we have another talk about it sometime because uh, you know, it got to a point in after I won the yoga competition, I started searching again, like where am I going with all this yoga stuff? And yeah, I found I started to connect with more spiritual level of teachers. I started to take trips to India, Nepal, sort of, and I'm still searching. I think part of being a yogi is that you're continuously open to growth and learning and being more and more connected, whatever level you're on. Um, but yeah, I started to connect a little bit more with the spiritual, philosophical aspect of yoga, and yeah, like you mentioned, I started chanting more, singing like kirtan bhajans, and some people were a little surprised by that, and people that are just in the yoga asana teaching world, it may even like turn people off a little bit. They're like, "What is that weird stuff that you're doing?" Um, but yeah, it's another level. It's another component of a yoga practice, and starting to connect more.
Yeah, I thought so because people they assume that that what are you doing getting into the Hindu thing and what is a Hindu thing going on, and there is some kind of that thing is going on. Uh, Yoga is neither Hindu, it is from Vedas, and Vedas are pre-existing from a very long time. It's like you said in the beginning also, they were orally transferred, then they were written down, and then written down only parts of it, not everything.
Right? Yeah,
Parts
we're
of
missing
it.
a lot, I'm sure.
I mean, Vyasdev knows our condition that we are the Twitter generation. We are only in 128 characters or 256 characters to some time, and we can't retain much. So he wrote down the most important parts which are relevant to us. And even Mahabharat, which is available to humans, is much smaller than what was originally written. 6 million shlokas were written, but only 100,000 are available to us. So because we can't even read 100,000, it takes us 10
Right.
years.
I hear that, and just me personally, I'm like, what's in the other 5 million? I'm always searching for more. And I think, that's part of being human. That's part of our condition. Like we're always, if we allow ourselves that curiosity, we're always trying to grow. We're always trying to reconnect. And
One
that's the journey of yoga.
one of the modern sages around 500 years back, he wrote a commentary on 18,000 shlokas of Bhagavad Puran, and his commentary was 400,000 shloka. 400,000. And it's a commentary on Bhagavad Puran, Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Puran, same thing. And it's stored in the library in India, Banaras Hindu University. There's a whole department on his books called for Jeev Goswami. Few years back, I
Amazing.
had to go there and I touched them with my own hands and held it in my own hands. I said, that is enough for me. Because that too, one leaf I was given to hold and I held it. I said, that means I've held the whole world in my hands. That's
Wow.
enough. So there's a lot of literary work and 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 people assume that the Indian ancient sages, because the current image of the people are not very healthy, like the sadhus are not very healthy. But if you look at the description of people from Mahabharata times, the sages of Mahabharata times, then you'll understand that they were all had fit bodies like yours, very
Yeah.
fit. So the current generation of gurus have to do a lot of work actually on asana.
That's something that's very interesting to me. A lot of people that are really into the philosophy and the spiritual teachings of yoga, a lot of times completely neglect their physical body. And I think we need both.
We
We
need both.
absolutely need to take care of ourselves. Yeah.
Madhvacharya was fit. And in fact,
Hmm.
many of the Ramanujacharya, all the great yogis, they have been physically very fit. And recently I was with Baba Ramdev. Amazingly, he's a clarity of mind and very fit body. Like,
Yeah,
and
they go together. We
together.
have to take care of our body if we want our mind to stay acute, right?
Absolutely. If you have a spondylitis pain, how will you do meditation? You,
Hmm.
you got to keep your spine erect. I like your, and by the way, he used to train me in yoga. I attended his many of his classes. So thank you, Zeb, for coming on the show, and thank you for all the viewers for watching. Do like, share, subscribe, and let us know your feedback. Your comments are extremely important. So thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.